Feet quite close together, but a little space between them. I like to think of 2 or 3 fingers apart between the feet. I want to balance the weight. I mean, we're just talking about the toes. So here, if you just lift the toes just a little bit, we're not trying to lift as high as possible, just float them off the ground and then just place them down and delicately press the toes into the mat and just have the sensation that we can get out toward the tips of the toes. And then from the tips of the toes, just taking our awareness back through the whole foot. And then coming up the leg, because we are using our leg muscles to get this even weight in our feet. So experiencing the engagement of the muscles onto the thigh bones, onto the leg bones. And then bringing the attention from the thighs up into the hips. And we do draw the thighs up when we engage them. And then from the hips, work around to the back and at the tailbone, a little dropping down. So we can even for ourselves, if we like, put a hand back at the sacrum, low sacrum near the tailbone, hand on the belly, and just a small movement. So really, I'm making this movement internally quite small. And I just want to feel that, oh yeah, in that low sacrum, in that tailbone area, there's a little change. You might feel some of the musculature flexing and releasing as you go forward and back a little bit. I want to end up with a feeling of the tailbone going downward. So it's a little less than tucking in. It's just before tucking in. So we just call it dropping. And then I can get both hands on my low belly. So just rubbing with the fingers, I get the muscles here in the abdominal wall to activate. And the ribs to lift up a little bit. Okay, and then let's go to our breathing. I'll start the fingertips down, low on the belly. Inhaling and I'll run the fingers up my center line. Breathing in all the way up here above the collarbones, holding the breath as the arms widen. And breathing out through the mouth as the arms descend. And just flowing with our own breath. And we'll do one more. And once we have our arms down, just experience the back body. Lifting up, so get to the back of the shoulders and lifting the spine there. The neck goes up and back a little bit, the back of the head goes upward. And also the shoulders coming off the ribs a little bit. Gives the chest a chance to really fill with air, right up by our collarbones. We come to an exhale. When that occurs, we're going to breathe out and just visualize as you get low into the hips with the exhale. Keep breathing out and imagine breathing out down the legs and breathing out to the soles of the feet. And when it's a new inhale, Just take the weight out of the heels. Doesn't matter how high they come. And we're going to return the heels, bring the toes up. We'll get 2 or 3. Whenever we settle the heels down, let's lift the toes up. Let's keep them lifted. And then lift the inner arch and shift the weight to the outer edge. And then reversing. Being careful with the knees, right? We probably want for ourselves to soften our knees a bit. Keeping a little tuck at the tailbone. And then when we come neutral, back in, balanced, let's keep our big toes lifted, but see if we can take just the other toes down. And again, feel the pads of the toes touch the ground. And then reversing. And as we work with the foot, not losing the spine. And then when we do get the toes up, just pausing with them lifted, and here make a real effort to bring them up. See if you can push them apart from each other, just like they were fingers, and we can spread our fingers. And then return the toes. And then when we're ready, we just dig into the mat, left and right, left and right. And then coming neutral through the feet, we're going to bend our knees. So hands down near the knees, and just an easy circle. It's the knees that circle, and then the hips, the ankles, they're drawn along because the knees are circling. And when we're ready, we're going to switch our direction. And we'll change direction again. And from here, we'll get a last change. And then into the center. Letting the hips sink down, activate the glutes and really hug the glutes onto the hips, tuck the tailbone, take the low back upward, tuck the chin, take the neck upward, spread the shoulder blades, and push the ribs back, the belly back. And then when we're ready for a breath, when it's an inhale, just float the arms up, straight up off of the ribs, up in front of the face, and then bring the elbows and shoulders up. And just drawing ourselves up taller and taller and taller. And reaching for the ceiling. And we're going to stay tall for the exhale. Turn the palms outward. Let the arms sweep out and come down. Once we're back down, we're going to take the feet wider apart. So think of where the hip sockets are and the heels, the feet basically lined up there. And then we're going to bend the knees a little bit. So it's like we've got a spring action in our knees. We've got the hands here low on the hips. And we want a gentle circling at the hip. So again, if something is sore for us, we want to figure out internally how to do the movement and minimize the sensation from the movement. When we're ready to, we're going to switch directions a few more times, just at our own timing. Just being aware of the soles of the feet. And then we'll bring ourselves into the center, and we've got the tailbone tucked. So as I breathe out, I'm going to slide the hands down just above the knees. Fingers are inward. I'm going to round over, but to round over, I'm going to push the back. I'm going to spread the shoulder blades. I'm going to tuck the chin. And then right here, when I need an inhale, I'm going to keep the knees where they are, but I'm going to move the breastbone forward. I'm going to move the hips back. I'm going to lengthen out. I want to look downward though, so the neck stays long and open. So pressing out and up through the back of the head. And just a little tuck to the tailbone to stretch out the low back. And next time it's an exhale, I'm going to tuck the tailbone further. I'm going to round the back. I'm going to tuck the chin and just really create a curling in and over feeling. And then from here, when we need an inhale, we're going to release the arms. They'll float up when the hands get in front of the face. Elbows and shoulders really draw up and pull the body up from the arms and the shoulders. And when we're tall, keep the arms going all the way up. And looking upward comfortably, move the hips forward. And whenever we exhale, let the arms start and the hands drop down in front of the face. And as the hands come down, we're going to round. And we just keep rounding down, curling the back. Hands going to end up back there above the knees. And from here, whenever we inhale, we're going to stay low now with the hands on the thighs. And the in-breath lifts the breastbone, lengthens the body. Exhale curls us. And maybe one more. When we need a breath, we're going to lengthen out. And on the exhale, curling back up whenever that happens. And now from this place, we're going to bring ourselves tall, use the inhale, release the arms, hands get in front of the face, elbows and shoulders lift. And then we draw ourselves up with the arms, reaching for the ceiling, really reaching up and moving the hips forward. And then to leave this place, move the head so we're looking straight in front. And then on the exhale, staying tall and just bringing the arms down. And once we've got the arms down, we're just going to rotate them forward and backward, the palms. So hands comfortable distance from the shoulders. This can be a fun movement with 2 yoga blocks or two volumes from the same series. So they're pretty much equal weight, turning them back and forward. And then just relax the arms down to the sides. Tuck the tailbone. And if you like, I like to change the position of the feet a little bit every so often, just so that the work is a little different in the joints. Doesn't end up exactly the same all the time. So I'm going to put the hands at the top of the hips. On the inhaling, and take my right side back, looking behind. And then when I inhale again, I'll come forward and then to the other side. And then when I turn back to the right, this time I'm going to release my right arm. I point back behind. I inhale, I'll lift the arm and turn forward. And when I exhale, I'll put the hand on the opposite shoulder and slide the hand down the leg. And then inhaling, coming up on the same side. So let's do some of these with our breathing, going side to side. So as we just flow with our breath, we can move the eyes and follow that hand, that arm in motion. And without tipping the face too much, get the eyes to work. So whenever we have a left side, what's our last side? And just pausing when we have that left side, just feeling the weight. So even weights in the feet, feeling the back body, tailbone, that little tuck and that length up through the spine. And we get a breath, we'll let the arms go out wide. So here at that maximum lift, we also really bring the shoulders up just that tiny bit more. And whenever we're going to exhale, just out through the mouth, lips slightly parted. And we'll go up one more time. And then the arms just down to the shoulder height. And I'll take my fingertips, I'm going to touch the shoulders and extend the arms. We'll get a couple more. So when the arms go long, point the fingertips down toward the ground. And then from touching the shoulders, let's go straight out in front. Arms point straight out, fingertips point down. And then next time we touch the shoulders, we'll take the arms straight up. And then touching. And then next time we touch the shoulders, let the arms stay there, open them wide, and then create a circle with the elbows traveling around the shoulders. And changing direction. Let's change direction one more time. And then we'll come up and over, and when the elbows point straight out in front, let's pause there. We'll extend out the arms. Palms face forward, just gently push forward. And then take that left hand, rotate the fingers inward, downward, and as they go down, pull the elbow back. Push the elbow up and back and press that right palm straight out in front. And then let's reverse. So the arms slowly change position. And we're doing our best to keep the hips and face forward, and the shoulders and the ribs get to twist. Okay, just a couple more. So the arm that goes out in front, take it up about head height rather than shoulder height. Yeah, let's do once more for each side. So once the left arm is out in front, pause there, and then bring the right arm out in front. And then with them both forward, just press out enough that there's the shoulder blades moving, and then let the arms float open, float upward, and smoothly, gently, so you can create angles so that you can keep the shoulder blades separating gently, shoulders lifting gently. And tuck the tailbone here, lengthen the back body. And then let's soften the elbows, bend the arms, let the fingertips come in and touch the shoulders. And then from here, just a little circle, just very easy, 1 or 2 each direction. And then after you've had those circles, just float up for the ceiling, turn the palms outward, just allowing the arms to descend. Okay. Let's change our foot position. I've got my feet a bit wider now. I'm going to turn them in. I'm going to sink the knees and tuck the tailbone. I'm going to start with my hands at the hips. I'm just going to move the upper body side to side. So there's very little movement in the hip. And I'm moving my ribs, my chest. And once we've felt that, we'll bring the hands on the base of the ribs. So where the hands are, we're seeing we can not force, but just create, that's where the push is. That's where the push is. Not overdoing it, but just seeing that's where the push is. And then maybe the hands up a bit higher. So for a bit higher, an easy way to do it is just to hook the thumbs into the armpits. So we get to the side here, I'm at the right side, and I want a feeling of that armpit opening outward, upward a bit. And then let's change the arms again when we're in center, release and bring them up and touch the fingertips on the shoulders. So the elbow pokes outward and upward. And then just release the arms to long. And then we get to a side, we reach in the fingertip, we reach in the fingertip. And then try pushing out with the heel of the palm. And then coming neutral. And we'll do something a little different. I'm going to take my left hand, I'm going to turn it over. So I'm going to spin the fingers up and down and then flatten the palm and bring the elbow up. Do the same thing on the, on this right hand. I'm going to look at the hand, just bend the elbow down. And now I'm going to switch. So with my legs this way, there's not a lot of movement in the hip. So we're going to change that. When we are next in center, just pause there, release the arms down. Let's release the legs. So I've got my feet about shoulder width, maybe a little wider. I'm letting my knees go soft, and I'm really letting the hips loosen up here. And so I'm going to get the arms out at shoulder height. I'm going to do that same thing with the arms. So I've got my back elbow up, my front elbow down, and both palms facing upward. And just 1 or 2, but what I want to do now is create lots of hip movement, lots of core movement. And then 1 or 2, make it bigger, turn the leg. So I go to the right, I turn out my right leg, or the left, I turn out my left leg. And then going right is our last time. And then come back in And we've probably all got tired shoulders. So now I've got the feet wider apart. I've gone a little wider. I'm going to have the legs basically straight. We have to organize the angle for ourselves, for our own anatomy. For myself, the feet turned out a little bit is best. Legs are pretty straight. I'm going to put both hands under my right leg. And when I breathe out, I'm going to slide the hands down. Remember, you don't have to go as low as possible. If there's a possibility of feeling dizzy, don't go that low. And then we release, we get that full exhale. And inhale brings my hands back up. I'm going to cross the belly. I'm going to exhale down the other side. And just traveling with the breathing. Now, when you go down the right side, again, only as low as is available, we go there and we stay so that when we have an inhalation, we're going to lift the left arm up and we're going to point it up toward the ceiling. So just hold for a moment, press equally in both feet so you can create a balanced feeling. And then breathing out, bring that arm down and release the head. So let the neck release here. Now a fresh inhale, we're going to lift the right arm up. And so that means we look behind and upward. And when we exhale, we're going to bring that arm back down, again, releasing the head. And when we need an inhale, we're going to bring the hands back up the leg. We'll come into the center. We're going to pause here just for a moment. We're going to do the other side when we're ready with an exhale, hands running down the leg. So we're on the left leg. So we're going to start by bringing up that opposite hand, the right hand, reaching up, looking up, balance the work in the feet. And the breathing out, taking the arm down and really letting the neck relax here for a moment. And then a fresh breath gives us the opposite arm reaching up. We look backward and upward. And breathing out releases the head down. And when we're ready to come up, we use an inhale. We get neutral. Again, we pause here for a moment. And we're going to do this once more for each side. So when we take our exhale, sliding the hands down the right leg. And not rushing. When we're ready for the breath, bringing up that left arm. And really connect with the legs here and the feet. And our own timing. When it's an exhale, releasing over. And do let the neck and head relax. When you take a breath, we're going to bring the other arm, right side. And when we do breathe out, bringing that arm down, releasing head and neck. When we need an inhale, we come tall, we're in neutral. And from here, when we're going to go to the next side, the left side with our exhale. And when we're ready, an in-breath to bring up the right arm. And an out-breath melts us over. An in-breath gives us the other arm. And an out-breath releases us. And coming up when we have that breath. So pausing for a moment once we're up, we will adjust the feet a little bit, bring them inward a little bit. Now we're going to bend our knees. We're going to have the hands just above the knees with the fingertips faced inward. I want a place here where I can put weight through my arms onto my legs. So the low back doesn't have to work as hard. And I'm going to adjust the spine by tucking the tailbone, moving the back of the waist back. With the elbows, I can open the shoulder blades apart. Lift the back of the neck and tuck the chin. Now we're going to do a twist for the core. So I'm going to straighten my right arm and bring my right shoulder into the center line. I'm going to bend the left elbow more and look out to the left side. Now the right hand has a job, and that is to keep the right knee from rolling inward. And then my breath is going to bring me to the center. I've got the elbows bent. For the other side, left shoulder comes into the center line, left arm straightens. I'm going to look over there at the right. Inhales to neutral, exhale to the side. So let's do our last cycle. So after right side and we're back in center, just take a moment, if we're okay in this position, for another breath or two, just rounding the back, tucking the tailbone, pressing the spine back, the shoulder blades wide, lifting the neck and tucking the chin. And then carefully with the knees, but they might be able to bend more. Again, paying attention to sensation. Really, if the knees complain, that's truly a little too far. And then we're going to come up as we inhale. So press on the feet, press up the legs, and then just bring the body tall. And if it's okay, feet are going to go a bit wider still. And then when we're ready here, we're going to go side to side. So I'll start at the right. I'll turn my right leg in the hip, bend the knee. The knee goes outward. The knee's in the line that the foot makes. And then back up. Turn the right in, the left out. So always important to be attentive to the sensations we're receiving and let them guide our movement. So for ourselves on this bent leg, I want even, very even pressure down into the foot. One of the ways, excuse me, one of the ways we protect our joints is there's energy in the muscles and the legs are working. And we're getting little variations in the distance between the feet. Looking for what really feels optimum. Let's say we can find optimum. We're on the right side. I'm going to put my right forearm on the thigh above the knee. I'm going to check with both feet that I'm feeling powerful. And my left arm's free, so I'm going to reach it behind. I'm going to reach up for the ceiling. And here I'm going to press up through the palm. I'm going to lift up in this right armpit and push up in the left palm. And then when I breathe out, I'm going to sweep the arm out close to the ear. Initially, I'm going to look outward, but then I'm going to adjust for the neck by looking downward, reaching through the crown of the head, pushing in the palm, and create space in the core. It's interesting where if I lift up in that right armpit, if I tuck the tail just that little bit, we can maybe feel quite open through the body. Now we're going to leave And we soften that upper arm on the inhale, sweep up. We'll just let the legs straighten, the feet turn neutral. We'll just take a moment again. When we're ready for the other side, left leg turns, we're going to come down into the angle, forearm on the thigh, fine-tuning the feet. I'm going to take that right arm back, straight back initially, but then up. I'm going to push up in the palm. So I turn the whole arm in the shoulder, and that draws the shoulder blade up. And I complement that by lifting in the lower armpit. And then I'm going to take that arm out close to the ear, pushing outward, adjusting the neck and the head so they are reaching out, and my gaze is essentially downward. Let's check with the tailbone. And then let's leave, we'll soften that upper arm a bit. Inhale, up and back, straightening the legs, turning to neutral. I'm just bringing the feet in a bit here. Okay. Actually, let's walk the feet in. Let's try coming down onto hands and knees. We can have some fun there. So we may want, it's always a good idea to have a bit of blanket or extra padding under the knees. If there's any indication from the body that that would be a good idea, we definitely want to listen to that. We're having a wonderful summer torrential rain here in Toronto. So you may hear occasional thunder rolling through. So hands and knees, the toes can be tucked or the feet can be flat, whatever works best for us. And we find our version, padding under the knees as we need to. And then we'll just roll through a handful of cat and dog stretches. So on the exhales, really checking tailbone, back of waist, shoulder blades, neck. Whenever we get an inhale, moving the breastbone outward, forward, and then being careful with the neck and the tailbone here. We don't want to create too much backward curvature in the neck. We want to try to keep it long. It's kind of got a built-in backward curvature. And then when you are exhaling, get that cat stretch. Then from there, let the hips drop back. We're just going as low as it's okay for us. Doesn't have to be all the way down because we're coming right back up again. When we inhale, we're going to lift the hips and we're going to bring the shoulders out towards the hands. And then I'm going to bend the elbows. And when I exhale, I just come a few inches down, maybe half a foot, 10 centimeters maybe. Dropping back, tucking the tailbone on the exhale. And on the inhale, floating up. On the exhale, the elbows bend and we sink down. We don't have to go super low. Look after the shoulders. An in-breath presses us up. We get to drop back. And we're going to do one more. Okay, so it's our last one. Whenever the hips go back, see if you can create a comfortable place to pause for a few breaths. Now, sometimes it's not ideal for the knee. So if that's the case, maybe walk the hands further forward and then just drop weight down through the arms. So we keep the hips up off of the heels and we just work with a height that's acceptable for the knee. If we're able to put the hips all the way down and the knees are okay, then we'll do that. And then when we're ready, we'll come up as we breathe in. And once we're back up, we're going to bring the knees a bit closer together. And just for a change, every so often I like to change my wrists. So I'll rotate the fingers outward a bit, point my thumbs forward. What I want to do from this position is just let the hips swing to one side, then the other. So, we can swing the hips kind of straight up and over, or as they swing from one side, they can move backward a little bit and then to the other. So it's a bit like the letter U. And we're exploring here. We're just looking at different pathways from one side to the other that feel smooth in the body. When I go to one side, it may be okay to move that shoulder. So if my hips are draped to the left, it may be okay to shift the left shoulder forward a little bit. And then not lingering, just flowing, going side to side. We don't want the weight to build up too much on our wrists. So our last cycle, when we're ready to stop, we're just going to sink the hips back down, coming toward the heels. Working with the distance between the knees, how much weight to put in the arms. Okay. So from here, let's bring ourselves up. Just want to adjust the mat here. What we're going to do, if it's okay here, I'm going to step my right foot out in front. So definitely, seriously consider padding under that back knee. Now I've got double mat here, so I pre-padded. This won't work inside the body if I've got serious discomfort at the knee. So take the time, get the padding. Pillows and blankets work. So the back toes can be tucked under or the foot can be flat. It's really our choice. And again, let the knee guide you how the knee feels. I want to work with the back hip above the back knee and the front knee above the ankle. And I'll just show straight ahead because there's a couple of different positions we use. The one we're going to use right now is this knee is straight out from the hip. Sometimes we get this distance, but today we're just going straight out from the hip. So once I've found this, I'm going to adjust the spine. I'm going to tuck the tailbone. I'm going to bring length in the core. When I inhale, I'm just going to sweep the arms up. So my hands aren't clear, but I've rotated the arms. I'm pushing up in the palms, lifting the shoulders, lifting the ears. And I'm going to check down the spine, that I'm creating length, tucking the tailbone. And then that front leg, its arm comes straight forward and it's pushing forward. So the shoulder goes forward, but I'm not going to let the chest turn that much. I just want to push the shoulder out. I'm going to push up and see if you can connect the palms together through that upper back. They're both pushing. So lift up the back of the neck and then look downward. So I'm going to take my gaze down and either look down at the ground or look for the cheeks, just below the eyes. Push into the front foot and just another breath. And then exhale, bring that upper arm down. Both arms are forward. Just press forward for a moment, move the shoulder blades, and then soften the arms. Let's change sides. Basically going straight to the other side, but making sure we adjust the body. So back hip above back knee, front knee above front ankle. And there is a bit of pressing down on this front foot. I'll tuck my tailbone, lengthen the core. Inhale is going to take me up. Rotating the arms, reaching up through the palms, and then checking with the spine, because with that reach, we want to keep the tailbone still a bit tucked. And then the front leg, that arm comes down. We push straight forward, we push straight up. Work with the back of the neck, with the back of the waist. And use the eyes. Eyes are going to help by looking down for the cheeks of the face. Okay, this upper arm, let's bring it down. Both arms pushing forward. And feel the shoulders, the shoulder blades move there. And then soften. Let's come onto both knees and let's just sink down for a moment. So experiment here, but try the knees wider apart, just for a different place. Maybe on the forearms. Now, if the hips will drop all the way back, that's great. If the knees aren't super happy, it might be possible just to walk the arms out in front a bit. And it's like we're imitating a frog in the garden, right? We've got those wide legs and the hips up potentially just a little bit, but as low as it works for us. Some weight on the front arms. And then just releasing the neck. We can even, if we like, look back for our big toes. Okay, inhale is going to bring us up. Now we're going to do, if it's okay, we're going to do one more pose from the same stance. We'll bring the right foot forward. So now this time I'm going to take the right foot out a little bit. And then I'm going to shift the hips forward. So it's like my hips are between my knees. And we need a little bit of adjusting for ourselves to find that place. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just slightly different use of the hips. Okay. So from here, I'm going to sweep the arms up. And this is just going to let me stretch, tuck the tailbone, move the neck back. And then I'm going to bring the arms down at shoulder height. And then from here, I'm going to lean over towards that bent leg. So literally bending the core over toward the bent leg. And feel that front foot, press down a little there. And then with this lean, I'm going to rotate towards the other side. And so my eyes are looking initially out between the arms, and I'm going to look down, lift the back of my neck. I'm going to push. And then I'm going to soften. So I'm going to tip back up. I'm going to turn back in. I'm going to lead this into one last place. I'm going to put that front arm on the front leg. The back arm, I'm going to reach out. So the rotation is thumb outward, fingers down. I'm going to push forward. So the angle's a little weird for my camera. That's a better angle. I'm pushing forward and I'm lifting in that right armpit and pressing out. And I'm going to let that right knee drift forward and press. And then I'm going to melt back in. So let's get off that back knee. We'll get on both knees. Before we do the other side, let's sink back. Give the body a chance to absorb the work. And when I inhale, I'm going to come up. I'm going to set up my legs for the other leg forward. So the leg goes, the foot is outward a bit, so that I now place the hips between the back knee, the front foot. Organize the back body. When we're ready to move, the arms go up. So just pushing long and organizing the tailbone and the back of the neck. And then when we're ready from there, shoulder height. Pressing enough to move the shoulder blades. And then I'm going to turn outward. And then I'm going to tip. So I did that wrong. So come back to center. I did that wrong. I'm going to turn outward and then I'm going to tip back. Oh, there it is. And pressing out in the palms. The gaze goes downward as I'm lifting up at the back of the head and connecting to that back knee and front foot. Okay, and let's release. So come neutral, back into center, and then bring that front forearm under the front thigh and upper arm, that arm with the back leg, it just pushes out. So I'm pressing forward. I'm letting the front knee go forward and I'm pressing out, but now I'm going to move the back of the head outward and upward. So I'm going to take my gaze downward. Front armpit lifts. That upper palm presses. And then soften, coming back in, coming neutral. Let's release down. So exploring, I mean, the knees can be close, right? The knees can be wide apart. The weight can go all the way back, or the weight can also come a lot of the weight on the forearms. And just finding what's workable. Seriously avoiding unpleasant sensation. And just finding the place that's, if it's occurring right before it occurs, stay out of it. If we need to leave this place entirely, always being willing to do so. And we're only here for another breath or two. And then when we inhale, we're going to lift the hips up. And let's come seated. So we'll take the legs out long, just a comfortable distance apart. I'm just going to wag the legs. So the feet roll in and out. Let's see if I can get my camera a little better. There we go. Okay. A little bouncing maybe. And then just pausing. I'm just going to put the hands on the legs for a moment, just for a bit of support. I'm going to feel the sit bones, sink them down in the ground. We're going to go side to side. So when I breathe in, I'm just going to float the arms up, take the hands above the shoulders, just create lift. So lifting the shoulders. And then when I breathe out, I'm going toward the right leg. So I'll swing my right arm behind, and I'll just reach through the left fingers and the right fingers and look at that right knee as I finish breathing out. I need a breath. I'm just going to float back to the center. I want to feel the weight even in the sit bones. I want to experience the lift in the back. And then the left side. And just gently, smoothly with the breath, giving ourselves chance to exhale deeply, letting all that air come out. And when we inhale, coming back center, taking the time to get that full breath. Now, don't rush there, but when we get to the right side, we're going to stay there. Once we're at the right side, we're going to put the hands down. So the right hand touches behind, left hand is somewhere on the leg. And we're just going to breathe long and deep into the belly, moving the belly inward and letting the body melt down toward that right leg. Now we're going to come up with an inhalation. Just letting our weight shift to the center, our arms and shoulders come up, our spine lengthen. As we're ready with the exhale, traveling to the opposite side. Now we inhale, we float to the center. And whenever we take our exhale, we'll simply go forward. So reaching out and then let the arms come low. Let the arms make contact with the legs. And just release the spine forward. And tuck the belly inward. Draw the thighs into the hips gently. The chin's tucked. We just let the elbows move the shoulder blades wider. Now the inhale, lift the head, just draw the hands up the legs. We're going to take our weight behind, draw the legs in, shift the weight so we can float the legs off. Just get a gentle shake. And then we're going to turn onto our back. So land the feet, move the hips forward a little bit, and then come down onto the elbows, the forearms, and then all the way down onto the back. And then from here, press a little weight into the feet, just a little bit so you can feel the weight. Tuck the tailbone a little more. And then use the exhale to see if you can press down from the inside, pressing down the back of the waist toward the mat. Now, when we come to an inhale, lift the diaphragm. So bottom of the ribs lifts up, diaphragm spreads, and then in the hips, the weight will naturally roll down toward the tailbone. And just gently back and forth. And on the exhale, just pausing when we've got the back of the waist sinking into the mat. And then we're going to pull the knees in, separate them a comfortable distance. We'll lift the feet higher than the knees. We're going to create circles through our ankles. Circling both directions, just letting our feet move freely. And then turning these into knee circles with the feet circling around the knee. Again, using both directions. And then coming neutral, just having the hands on top of the knees, the feet relaxed, and use the hands to open the knees and then circle them close. Switching direction every so often. And then coming back in neutral with the knees about hips width apart. And then from here, we're going to lift the feet higher than the knees. So energy in the legs. We're going to cross the wrists. So hand on the opposite knee. The tailbone's up off the ground. Back of the waist, encouraging it into the mat. And then take the right arm straight vertical, rotate the arm, push up in the palm, and then lower the arm close to the ear and push out through the palm. And then bring the left heel down so it touches the mat. And then scrape out through that left heel so the leg is long. So push in the foot, push in the palm, and then check the low back. See if we can adjust so the back of the waist sinks downward. And then adjust the eyes, looking for the cheeks. And then let's take the left leg straight up vertical, and then the right arm straight up, and they both push upward. And then soften the right knee, the left knee, put the right hand back on the knee. So check the tailbone. And then release the left arm. Take it vertical and rotate the whole arm, pushing up through the palm. We'll take the arm down close to the ear and push outward through the palm. And then the right heel touches and scrape out the right leg. So pressing through the foot and the hand, and check the back of the waist, see if we can get it to sink downward. And then from here, let's take the right leg vertical, then the left arm, they both press upward, and then bend the knee and put the hand back on the knee. So check in with the tailbone, it's tucked up. And then release the right arm again. We'll do it once more for each side. Rotate the arm, pushing for the ceiling. Lowering the arm close to the ear. Pressing out through the palm. And then bringing the left heel down and stretching out through the leg. And then find the back of the waist. See if we can lower it into the mat. Now let's take that left leg straight up for the ceiling, and then the right arm. Have a moment where they both press upward, and then bend the knee. The hand is back on the knee. So tailbone tucking. And then the left arm vertical, rotating the arm, pushing up in the palm. And then bring the arm down close to the ear. Press out through the palm. Now we're going to lower the right heel and scrape the leg out long. Push through the foot and push through the hand. Check the back of the waist. See if we can get it to sink inward. And then take the leg straight up and the arm straight up. Push for the ceiling. And then bend the knee, hands on the knee. And then put the hands back on their own knees. Bring the knees in closer and wider apart. Want to hold the legs where the low back and the top of the hips are comfortable. And we can breathe into our belly and have it move freely. And then keeping the knees open, let the feet touch back on the mat. Rest the arms down. Now knees are bent, knees are open. Find the outside edge of the left foot and then scrape it out along the ground. And release the leg once it's long. Let the hips sink here before you go to the right. And then on the right side, find the outside edge and scrape the foot out long. And when both legs are long here, just release the hips and let them sink. And follow the breath. Allow the inhales to be long and allow the inhale to fill the lungs up to the collarbones. And allow the exhales to be long down into the low belly. And let's begin to move again in our fingers and toes. Moving the ankles and the wrists. And using an in-breath, reach the arms out, stretch down the legs. And when we exhale, bring the legs in, hold the hands around the knees, rocking lightly, one side then the other. And release ourselves all the way. We're going to travel onto either side.